All right. Hey, I'm going to do something just for a few minutes before I bring up Samson to talk about the comp plan or whatever he plans on covering. But I absolutely love what I do. You know, one of the reasons why we decided to kind of keep rolling with this is when this industry is done right, it's the best industry out there. I mean, when it's done right with the right company, the right people, I've seen what can happen. I mean, I was able to get in the industry when I was in my early 20s. By 23, 24, I was out of a job. By the time I was 25, I bought the house I live in today. By the time I was 30, I accomplished almost all my financial dreams and goals. Had a $500,000 motorhome on the side of my house, had 4 boats, had, just an amazing life. And over that time frame, we switched gears at 30 into making a difference in other people's lives. And we've helped lots of countless people become millionaires in this space. We've seen a lot of people be able to come home. My dad was able to retire. He was a school teacher, and my mom was able to stay home and raise 6 kids. And we retired him 25 years early. He passed away this last year, which we sort of miss him at the age of 89, but literally got 25 years of his life back. And traveled the world with him, and it's just been an amazing thing. But I say that to say that, you know, when we decided to come and put this together again, we knew people were hurting, and we know what this industry can do with the right people in place. And we wanted to pass the baton, you know. It's funny because we had a chance, I was listening to her talk about being the MC for the first time, and it's funny because I failed my speech class when I was in college because I was afraid to talk to people. And I said, I'm never going to do that again. And so I left, and also next day I know I show up in a room like this. Next day I'm doing a one-on-one, and then I'm actually doing a little small group house meeting. And I pulled up to my first house meeting. It was an apartment complex. I pull up, and there was cars parked everywhere, and I thought they were all there for my meeting. And I literally threw up on the side of the road because I was so scared. I got in there. There were 2 old ladies. One fell asleep. The other one took the other one home right in the middle of my plan. And my whole meeting lasted, I think, 5 minutes. I had sweat dripping down on my arms. I was scared to death. And 4 or 5 years later, we were speaking in the Georgia Dome in front of 80,000 people, and it was Barbara Mandrell sang, Mike Dickus spoke, we spoke, and then Les Brown spoke right after us. And it was funny because I used the example that, I mean, literally, in front of 80,000 people. It was one of the largest sales meetings ever, and it's like, wow, it's amazing how things can change. And I say all that to say, what I want to do is I just want to give you a little bit of a talk. If I could go back and talk to myself at the very beginning, there's a couple things I would probably tell myself, because I got in the industry and I looked and I thought, I know there are people making it, but can I make it? I mean, do I have what it takes? What should I be doing? Should I be doing? And so, just real brief on my story, I got in. My cousin came down to show my parents a plan. My cousin see the plan a couple days before. He came to show my parents. My parents actually walked out of their own house. So how's that for rejection? I walked in because I got in a fight with Tracy that night and was going to go see my parents, and my cousin sitting there, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he had some 3x5 cards, and I actually literally read the plan to myself. He gave me some tapes and some cassettes and a book, Magic of Thinking Big, and there was a Profiles, another book that kind of showed people successful. And he went home, and I thought, well, I'm going to do it. So I called him up a couple days later, and he'd already quit. He already said, no, I've already been in a week, and it ain't working. And so I'm out. He says, if you want to find somebody who's in, he says, there's a meeting in Salt Lake next week, and here's the name of somebody. And I went to the meeting in Salt Lake, drove 12 hours. And went around the meeting going, hey, is this you? Is this you? Do you know who this person is? Oh, is this you? Oh, you're my upline? Okay, great. And I introduced myself, and I got that person to come down to San Diego and do a meeting for me, and there was nobody there except me and my parents. And that person went home and quit. And so the next month I went back up to Utah, found another person in the upline. Folks, I did that 6 times. I had 6 people in my upline come down and see us and go home and quit. and then so I thought, okay, well, I got to learn this myself because I can't count on anybody. So I got out there and started doing some meetings. I wasn't good. I was horrible. I mean, it wasn't great, but I started to get a little bit of traction. My dad had some credibility, and so I had some energy. My dad had the credibility. He'd line them up. I'd go show the plan to him. I'd get him involved. We put in, I think, 80 people our first year. And then I get a phone call one day from one of my top guys, and he says, I just got a promotion, I'm quitting. And I call my group, and they're all quitting too. And that was my first year in the industry. So that's really what, my upline quit, my downline all quit. And it's the only time I've ever said this in over 3 decades. At that point, I hung up the phone with that guy, I said, and I quit. And I looked over at Tracy, she looked at me, and we're sitting there thinking, now what? Go back to what we were doing before? Well, that sucked. I mean, we really got in this because we wanted to get out of what we were doing, and we had to find something else. And so it was the only time I ever said that, but I had to reflect and I had to kind of dig down deep as far as what I was doing. And I'm going to ask this of you guys a little bit. I know that some of you here last month, maybe some of you have been in from the beginning. Maybe any of you got in at the beginning when we first launched the company. Okay, a couple of you. Maybe some of you have been involved a couple of months. Maybe some of you are brand new, and so this won't. But I know that first little go is a little bit tough. It's you go out there and you think, get healthy or get wealthy. All my friends are going to want to do this. How many of you thought that? I'm going to talk to them all. They're all going to get in. And what happened? Okay. See what the reason why is there's a lot of people out there that are willing to complain about it, but they're not willing to do something about it.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a story that I've told for years about it. Guy's walking down the road and there's a dog on a porch that's howling. And he was howling like he's in pain. And so this guy walking by goes up to the owner and says, "What's wrong with the dog?" He said, "Well, the dog's laying on a nail." And he said, "Well, why didn't the dog get up?" He said, "Well, it hurts enough to howl, but it doesn't hurt enough to get up." And that's most of the people you're going to see out there. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that really want to have a better life. They want to have better health. They want to have that they're just not willing to do something about it. And my challenge to you is to not be one of those. I remember, and I think I mentioned this last time I was here. I remember thinking to myself, what are the odds that I'm going to make it in this industry? I thought, what if only like 1 in 20 really go out there and have some success, or what if it's 1 in 100? But let's say 1 in 20. If it's 1 in 20 to where you can make a decent income, then what I need to do is more than the other 19. Wouldn't that be a safe assumption? And I didn't realize how easy that was, because the other 19 aren't doing anything. They got in, they buy a few products, they called a few people, and then they stopped. And I'm going to tell you this: that there are some people in life, and again, I think if you have a job right now in this economy and you're paying the bills, man, be grateful for it. But I think there are some people that need to be told when to get up, when to go to work, when to go on break, when to go to lunch, where to go on vacation, how much to get paid. There's people that kind of need that guidance. I just made a decision somewhere in my life I wasn't going to be one of them. And I'm going to challenge you to do the same thing. Because it is, if this was a job and you were your boss, would you fire yourself for what you've done so far in this, or would you give yourself a pay raise? Now think about this for a second. Would you give yourself a pay raise for what you've done so far in 3, or would you, if this was a job? Okay, so here's the I'm just going to tell you the biggest challenge, and this is the boils all down. The biggest goal isn't to go out there and get other people to do what you want them to do. The biggest goal is to get you to do what you know you're supposed to do. And if I ask all of you right now, would you like to be a bigger rank than you're at right now? And this goes for me too. Would you like to be a bigger rank? And you'd say yes. And I'd say, well, what do you need to do to get there? You already know what the answer is.
The time and work.
And it may be different for everybody in here, but if I ask you what do you need to do to hit the next level, you know what it is. So I'm just going to challenge you.
Yes, sir.
If you know what it is, okay, the only butt that you can't kick in this business is the one you can't reach, or that you're allowed to kick is the one you can't reach. It's kind of your own. And the blessing I had, I've got a great partner in my wife, and we made a decision a long time ago that we could get to a point where we're down, but we could never be down at the same time. And we had to do a couple of things to kind of stay on track, because there's a couple of things that are you have to realize at the very beginning. Number one is this is going to take some time to build a residual income that's going to surpass your full-time income. Is going to take you time. I will tell you, the first year, I was probably averaging $1 an hour is probably what I made. 10 years later, I was probably making $5,000 to $10,000 for every hour I put in the business, just from a residual base. But that took a lot of work. As a matter of fact, it's interesting. The first year, I don't think we made more than a couple $100s a month. The second year, it started to come in a little bit bigger. The third, fourth, fifth year, it started to come in a big way. But get this: the 15th year we were in, we were making a 7-figure income, and Tracy's dad got cancer. And for a year, he was in the hospital going through treatments, and Tracy's an only child. And so we took ourselves out of this type of a meeting. We spoke at the bigger conventions, the bigger events. We took ourselves out of it and spent most of the time with him while he spent that last year. And we're very grateful we did that. But get this, when we did that, our business over doubled while we were gone, and it was the most money we'd ever made in our career. Why do you suppose that was? Well, two parts. Number one is I had a residual business that we'd spent a lot of years putting on a foundation in, and when we backed out, a lot of my leaders that were there grew up. Kind of like you taking out the canopy of the forest. All of a sudden the sunlight could hit everybody, and the whole thing took out. It kind of hurt my self-esteem. I thought, man, the fastest it grows, they back out of this thing. But it's true. I've watched that. The same thing happened with Kim over on our last platform. I watched that with her. And so this is going to take some time. But realize this, that everything takes time. Failure takes time. There's nobody that wakes up one morning and goes, oh, damn, I'm bankrupt. Well, maybe this week they did that, because this week was kind of crazy in the stock market. I lost a lot of money this week, but it'll be better. Yeah, sometimes you got to take a step backwards to go forward. And so I'm very, I'm good because I'm not selling it. I'm actually buying it is what I'm doing now. But failure is slow. So is success. Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers talks about the 10,000 hours it takes to be good at anything. And it's going to take you 10,000 hours of doing this. And it's not going to be an observer for 10,000 hours. It's not going to be just sitting in the chairs for 10,000 hours. It's going to be 10,000 hours of actually going out there and building this. We did a lot of things wrong at the very beginning, but ultimately as time goes by, you start to refine them, and you plan, you do, you check it, and you adjust. That's how it goes. I have a plan to fill a room, here in San Francisco. Maybe we didn't fill it this time, so we're gonna check our results, and we're gonna go out there and adjust and do something different the next time. And so as long as you do that, you'll continue to improve. But number one, know that it's gonna take some time. It's like the penny doubled every day. 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents. Okay, you get down there at the end of the month, and it's $1 million, $2 million. I mean, that's how this industry works. That's how it goes. And the truth is, you've got to have a long-term vision. My mentor is a guy named Dexter Yeager. Became a very good friend of mine before he passed away as the number one income earner in the whole space. $500 million is what he made personally. He said, you show me a long-term thinker, and I'm gonna show you a wealthy person. And most people don't think long-term. They think Monday through Friday. The average person out there, and I was like this for 3 years when I first got married. I'd work Monday through Friday, get paid on Friday, I'd spend the money on Saturday, I was broke all day Sunday, and I started at zero on Monday. Does that sound familiar to anybody? And then I work Monday through Friday. I'd get paid on Friday. By Saturday, it was all gone. Sunday, I was all broke. And that, there's a long run. I mean, that's a long run. My friends, I was going to college, actually, when I got involved in this. And a lot of my friends thought I was an idiot. They said, oh, we're out partying the weekend. We're going to get our degree. We're going to become successful. And after a year, if you would have asked us who made the better, and I was still going to college, but if you asked us who made the better decision, they wouldn't say that I was having the success. But by the time they graduated, I retired, which was kind of a cool thing. It's going to take time. You got to realize that. Number two, it's going to take consistency. This is a part-time business, but this is not a sometime business. It's a part-time business, but it's not a sometime business. If you went to a restaurant and brought and you liked the food, you went back and you took your family, and it was closed, and it says, sorry, kitty's sick or whatever on the door, would you go back again?
No.
Okay, you aren't going to go back. I mean, 14, you need to be consistent. In our business, we need to be consistent. And I always tell people, if you only got 1 day a week, do 1 day every week, but do the 1 day every week. What a lot of people do is it's kind of like going to the gym. How many of you have ever gone to the gym once and it's like, oh, that hurt, and you don't go again for another month, and then you go and you're starting over, oh, that hurts. If you're waiting a month between workouts, you're going to find that you get the same results that are zero every single time. All you're going to do is feel the pain. In our industry, you've got to stay consistent. And so the way I always tell people is book a meeting from a meeting. I have something that we've taught our group for years of have 2 a day and 10 in play. I talk to 2 people a day and have 10 people on your list that you're kind of working with at a given time. But don't keep them on that list. Work through that. I'll hit that in a second. It's going to take consistency. We have a system in place. I got in and I thought, well, I bet they never thought of this before, so I go try this. And I bet they never thought of this before, and I go over and do this. And literally after a year, I had one of my upline that was actually left that I got to know. He said, Lance, I know you got a lot of ideas, but you're not making a lot of money. He said, why don't you do it our way for a year? And that way, at least when you're doing your stuff a year later, you'll at least be making money. And I said, okay, I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do, and if it doesn't work, it's your fault. And he says, okay. And I did. And I was going to show him that it wasn't working. And a year later, my group started to come together in a big way. We have a system here, and a lot of times people will try to take it and go off in different directions. Stay with the system. I mean, get on the calls. Be a part of this process. Those three things are really important, but there's a pattern that we go through, and I'm going to go through these real quick. Number one is you got to find your reason why. You got to know exactly why you're doing this. That's what's going to motivate you. I never let my dream tank go empty. I've always had a dream board. I've always had stuff that I'm looking at in front of me that that's a goal. Now I'm at a point where I can buy that stuff, but I refuse to do some of those things, to buy those things until I hit a goal. That's how I use it as motivation today. Back in the day, it was I want to do this so I can do this. And so my biggest dream was to become financially free and have freedom. I wanted to be able to wake up when I wanted to wake up, and I didn't want another guy to tell my wife what to do every day, in some other place. I wanted freedom. But you can't touch and smell freedom when you're frustrated. So I like big houses. So within where I live today, there's probably $1,000 million homes within a 2-mile radius of me. And I bet you I've been through all of them. Because we'd go to church on Sunday, and every Sunday after church we'd go look at big houses. And it's amazing how the next day or that night I was good at contacting, I was good at doing the things I needed to do. Because again, the goal isn't the goal in this business isn't to get other people to do what you want to do. The goal is to get you to do what you know you need to do and what you know to do. And so put yourself in front of the dream. The motorhome I mentioned earlier that we had, I went and I used to work at a lumber company, and Tracy would come here. Tracy and I said, well, what do we want our life to look like? Well, we want to have a big house. And we thought a motorhome would be cool because we'd like to travel the world. And so I found out where I worked, there was a motorhome lot about 3 blocks down. And so one day for lunch, I walk over to the motorhome lot, go sitting there, I look at this motorhome, and oh my God, this is a house on wheels. It's a freaking house on wheels. It can do everything I do at my house. I can take it to the beach, I can take it to the mountains, I can take it fishing, this is gonna be, and I thought this is great. So I invited Tracy to come to lunch the next day. I go and I take her to the lot, we look at the motorhome, she says, this is great. I literally went there almost every day for lunch while I worked. The guys knew me. They said, no, nobody's in there. You can go in. And I'd literally go take my rolled tacos, and I'd sit there with my Diet Coke and say, oh man, it's going to be great. Can you imagine when? And 4 motorhomes later, we were able to get them. We were able to get them because we could see it. People that say, I got to see it to believe it. The truth is, you got to believe it to see it. And by putting yourself there and seeing what it is you want, you got to have that crystal clear. You got to have a why that will make you cry. Anybody who gets involved says, well, I would like to make enough money where I could buy a new dishwasher. Okay, I know that person probably isn't going to have what it's going to take to really go build a big, massive residual business. And I have a philosophy. If someone's going to run, I run with them. If they're going to walk, I walk with them. If they sit down, I replace them. I mean, just being honest with you, this is a business. You got to treat it as such. And so number one, find a why. Number two is make some commitments. Again, it's a part-time business. It can't be a sometime business. And so make some commitments as far as how much time you want to put in. And I'm going quick because I want to get Samson up here, and I know we're running a little long. There's a pattern, a circle of activity that you need to go through. I'm just going to kind of wrap with this, or teach this and then wrap with one more thing. The activity goes like this. You write a list of names, you contact them, you get them to see the program or share the products with them, you follow through with them, and if you follow through with them, you get them involved, and then you get a names list from them, and then you help them contact, and you show the plan, follow through. Names list, invite, show the plan, follow through. That right there, that circle of activity is going to determine how successful you are. Now, some people get involved and they'll think of the name on Monday, they'll write it down on Tuesday, they'll call the person on Wednesday to see if they can talk on Friday. On Thursday, they'll talk to them say, hey, are we going to talk on Friday? On Friday, they talk. They get a no on Saturday, they get depressed all day Sunday, and then they'll come to me and say, I'm working this every night. I'm working it every day. That's not working it every day. That's 52 people a year approach. The faster you can actually go through this cycle, the faster it's going to go for you. And so if you can start to go through the numbers really quick, and I'll tell you this, it's not the ones that say no that are going to mess you up, because the truth of the matter is this, it's the ones that get involved, do nothing, and take all your time. They're the ones that'll mess you up. And again, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, I love people. There's people that come involved and they just want to be part of the community. I love it. But if you're going to build, what you're looking for is you're not looking for leading followers. You're looking to lead leaders. You know, I had this talk with Fotine the other day. I says, Fotine, we've got to find another Fotine. Samson, and I talk about, I need to find another Lance. I need to find leaders that are willing to go out there and really roll up their sleeves and do it, because I'd rather have 1 or 2 or 10 highly committed, focused people than 1,000 customers, because me and those 10 will replace those customers over and over and over again in the long run, and especially as we build this globally. And so names list, invite, show the plan, follow up. For a meeting here, and I'm just going to make a point. How many of you invited somebody to come here that wasn't here today? Okay. There's a couple of things to that. part of it, the invite's important, but part of it, some of you probably don't live real close here. It's a Saturday. You probably live a little ways away. I'm sure the excuses you got was, well, it's really far, and I've got a soccer game, or whatever excuses you got. Here's what I found that's critical. I have a system that I've always tied into, and these systems are important. You got to come to these, and you got to promote them. But if you would have gone out there and showed this program 10 times in the last 30 days to people around you, and then the ones that were in, helped them contact and brought them here, you'd actually have a group. But instead, if you look and go, because I've done these all around, and I love the fact that we're doing this monthly, but if it works, let me put it this way. In 36 years of doing this, here's where I go. I go work areas where I got people who do what I do when I'm there, when I'm not there. Does that make sense? So I have people on the ground that are out there doing it. If I come in and show the plan, do some work, and then I go back home again, and then I come back 30 days later and nothing goes on while I'm gone, I'll do that 2 or 3 times or 4 times before we'll either have a come to Jesus talk or whatever. Because the goal is to reinforce what it is that you're already doing where you're gone. And so I will tell you, for me personally, I didn't have an upline that was coming because my upline all quit. I got involved. So it's like, okay, I have to do the names list. I have to invite. I have to show the plan or share the product, and I have to follow them up. And so I came with that, and it helped me a lot. I have a mentor that was in my first company, and I said he was breaking some big ranks in his group, and I said, tell me how you do it. He said, here's what I do. He said, I sit down every January 1st. I write down all the people that have the potential to do it. I'll pick 8 or 10 people. I'll go out there, sit down with them, I'll make commitment to them. I'll go work really hard with them. And he said, I'll spend 12 months working with those people, and then a leader will break over here. I said, what? Explain that again to me. He said, I'll get 8 to 10 people, I'll make commitments to them, I'll go work with them, and then I'll spend a year working with them, and then a leader will break over here. And I said, well, that's weird. I said, what happens to the people you're working with? He said, well, a lot of them are waiting for me to do it all for them, so that they never really try and grow, but the people over here don't get my time, so they go do it without me. And I know I'm speaking a little deep on this one. Here's what I wanted to tell you, is the first time I had someone in my upline come and show a meeting for me that was substantial, I had 1,600 people at the event. Because before that, nobody was coming. The people quit. Nobody came. First time I had a leader come in, I had 1,600 people show up. I only had about 800 people that were there, but because the leader had come in, it was such a big deal. Actually, our biggest was probably 500. It was such a big deal, everybody brought 3 people, and we had 1,600 people show up. And that right there is really kind of where our business grew. And so here's the difference. What if you contact somebody, you show the plan, you get them on the Monday calls, and that's good. But again, a lot of times when we do these type of events, somebody should have already probably seen the plan or seen some basic. And a lot of you, how many of you know how to show the program or show the plan? Okay, my upline told me 15 times a month at least, do this 15 times a month. You know the plan? Some people got together in 2022, put together a company called 3. It's a proactive wellness company. They got a great scientific advisory board. They got some great executives. They put together a business where they've got these amazing products in the PDR, and they have a compensation plan that goes along with it. They pay out 35% on what comes in, and we're going to go build this. Now, would you like to get in? You want to see it again?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the foundation of it. Now, if you can start there, you can start adding this stuff. I had a doctor that came from one of my previous platforms over to a platform like this, and he got so much of the doctor stuff that he wasn't duplicatable. People said, well, I can't do what he does, or they try to duplicate what he was saying. And then I had another leader that got involved. He said, I really don't even know what I'm doing here. He said, I'm making a ton of money, but here's what you do. You get involved in this thing right here, you sign up a few other people, you talk to your friends, you get them involved in, and literally made more money because people look and go, God, if that guy can make money, I can make it too. And so you don't worry about how it is it comes across. Here's an important lesson you need to know. When you find somebody who's looking, doesn't matter how bad you do, you're gonna get them in. If you find somebody who's not looking, it doesn't matter how good you do, they aren't gonna get in. Mm-hmm. My cousin came down, he didn't even know what he was doing. He read it, I took the 3x5 cards away from him, I read them off the list. I mean, I read the plan to myself. I was looking. I had a guy a couple years ago come to my house. Came to my house, parked in front of, we've got a pretty nice house, parked in front of my $500,000 motor home, got my boats in the driveway, got a couple nice cars all paid for. Comes and sits behind my desk. I tell him that I've got this business. I tell him I haven't had a job for 25 years. I tell him that if he gets involved, I'll help him. And he said, no, my friend was in this thing doesn't work. apparently I didn't get the memo. But I'm telling you, the difference is just talk to everybody. Just talk to them. You don't know. It's not your job to sort out who's going to do it. It's not your job to put them on a list. The people you think are going to do it aren't going to do it. The people you don't think are going to do it will do it. You just don't know. You just go talk to them all. But I promise you this, take control of your own business. A lot of people act like social directors. They get on a call and say, here, you go over here and get on this call and come here. And then your schedule, their schedule, all has to meet. It all has to work on the same day at the same time. And you get frustrated. I mean, my dad was very, very outgoing. He'd call up and say, hey, John, you going to be home? Are you home? He'd call them, this is when we had phone lines. He'd call him at home and say, are you home? He'd say, John would say, yeah. He'd say, okay, I'm coming over. That's how, I mean, literally, he went from a coach to making $100,000 a year in about 18 months with me. And that was his contact. You home? Well, of course I'm home. Well, great. You going to be there for a little bit? Great, I'm coming over. And would sit down there in 5 minutes, just show him, hey, check this out. And then he'd get him to something like this, and then he'd get him on a call, and then he'd get him to, but the truth of the matter is, you've got to take control of that whole cycle. If you have to have some other piece out there, like a Monday call, be part of it. I mean, at least if you don't feel comfortable, at least use the recordings in there to have them be part of it. But get that thing down to where you can get the names list down, you can get the contact down, you can get the show the plan down, and you can get the follow through down. And once you can do that on your own, that's like a wheel in a car, and the faster you do that, the faster you go. And I'll tell you the reason why we made it is we made that circle right there, that circle of names, list, invite, show the plan, follow through. We did that 15 to 25, 30 times a month, every single month for 7.5 years straight. And there were people who were better than me in this. There were people that talked better than us. There were people who were better looking. But we blew by them all because there weren't very many people that could go through that circle 17 times a month. And I did that while we were going to school full time and working full time. Because I didn't have this to distract me. I didn't have my computer to distract me. I didn't have Netflix to distract. As a matter of fact, we used to call the television an electronic income reducer. And I literally, from the time I made a decision to do it, I went and cut the cable. We had cables that came to the wall, believe it, back in the day. I cut the cable out of the wall on all of my TV, on all the rooms, and didn't have TV for 3.5 years. I think I have 17 TVs in my house now, which is way more than you need. But I'm telling you, I looked and I said, what's holding me back? What is it I'm doing? Because when given the weaker choice of do you go to the gym or do you stay home and stream Netflix? I mean, we're all kind of lazy. And so I have a partner that we're pretty rough on each other, okay? And if you don't have that partner in your life, then find one in your upline. I promise you there's somebody there you can be accountable to. I mean, if I go to the gym by myself, it's like, okay, whoa, look at that time. You know, if I go there with Tracy, okay, we push each other. Okay, I went one time with my mentor had a promo trip in Hawaii, and I went to the gym with him. And this is somebody I'd worked with for a bunch of years, and it was my mentor for my first probably 10 years. I was so dang sore the next day. I couldn't believe how hard I worked. I was lifting weights I shouldn't have been lifting. It was the best workout of my life because I was accountable to somebody else. There was somebody else in the room with me. Find your accountability. I mean, because I promise you this. This is going to take effort. This is going to take time. But I also promise you that it's absolutely worth it. I mean, it's absolutely worth it. I used to sit there. I used to have a calendar open up, and I'd have a whole 50 weeks I had to work. I'd have a week and a half or 2 weeks off. I mean, literally, when we started this year, I got to show up in June. I got to show up in at events like this. But I have probably 2 weeks a year I have to show up. The rest of it I get off. We literally have enough time for it. I mean, I haven't had someone tell me to wake up. Last time I got a W-2 was 32 years ago. But it's gonna if you're gonna do something other people can't, you're gonna have to be willing to do something other people aren't willing to do. And that's what we're talking about here. Just living that extraordinary life. Now I know some of you here maybe just want a few extra bucks, but if you really want to knock it out of the park, I mean, this is the company, this is the timing. I mean, I tell people what we used to do about product pickups and all this stuff. I feel like my dad saying, I used to walk out here to school in the snow both ways, uphill, I feel like you guys have got, I don't want to say you got it easy, because it's going to take effort. But the worst thing that you're going to get is somebody's going to say no. Hey, you want to get involved with me? No. That's as hard as this gets. That's as bad as it gets. And honestly, if they're like that, sometimes the no's are actually good, because you don't want everybody to get involved. I mean, we really are very selective on who we work with nowadays, just because we've done this a long time, and I'm looking for somebody who wants to run. And what we're doing up here, and the reason why Samson's put this together and invited us up here, the reason why you're here is because we want to do this up here in this area with you, all of you guys. And we want to see this. It's funny because Dexter Yeager, I used to look at him, and he would talk to 20 people like he was talking to 100,000 people. We were one of the youngest guys or youngest couples to hit the high rank in our first company at 25. And so we spent a 15-year time frame traveling with Dexter everywhere. He would go to Australia. We went, I think we've gone to, I don't know, 60 different countries. We were the young ones that kind of gave up to kind of hit that generation, and then Dexter would come up and wrap the thing up. And I asked him one time, I said, it sounds like you're talking to an arena when you're talking to these 20 people. He says, well, you see 20 people, I see an arena full of people. And yeah, that's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we come to events like this, is because we see this bigger. Our dream is to have you see this as big as we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And so I hope you have faith in yourself. I hope you put the belief in yourself. Get that circle down. Get the belief. Get your dream up. Be realistic as far as what it's going to take. But I'm going to promise you this: we're going to have an amazing run with 3. I'm more excited than ever. I tell people all the time. I said, I feel like my whole life I've practiced hit home runs, and we got a company that we can hit them. We can hit them here. And we don't have to look over our shoulders. I don't have to have a company going backwards. The last 2 billion-dollar companies I had, the knuckleheads made bad decisions, and it's nothing like, we was the fastest growing group on the Titanic. That's awesome. We don't have to worry about that here. This is a safe place, and it's only going to get better. We'll have better products. We're going to have more countries that are going to open up. We're going to have bigger cities. We're going to have huge tours. We're going to go back and remember when we all fit in that tiny little room over there. That we're going to talk about that. We've seen this everywhere we've gone, and this company is better than any I've ever done. So, with that.